We've had so many rainy days lately. Sometimes it can seem like the goal is just to try to exist and wait for the sun to shine again. But then again, it seems like the days have their own mood. They have a certain sense of calmness about them. And I have to say I'm liking that. Welcome to another episode of Homemakers Journal. And the first thing that I want to share with you today is these amazing 1-hour dinner rolls. And I kind of say that carefully because they ended up taking me more than an hour to make. You know, sometimes things take a little longer to rise, a little longer to bake, but nonetheless, these rolls went together really, really quickly. And of course, I've left the recipe in the description box below. After gathering my ingredients together, I just heated up the water and put in some butter to melt and a little bit of milk and some honey. And I let that sit on the burner until the milk, and on medium heat, until the milk had been all melted. Then you need to let it cool to about 110. I felt that was close enough. Then, of course, it's time to add the yeast. Wait till it gets nice and foamy. And add the flour. Try not to make a mess. I let this mix in my mixer for a few minutes, added a little bit of extra flour, and of course the salt. But the dough is supposed to be slightly sticky, so don't try to overcompensate by adding too much flour. A little bit of sticky is okay. And instead of putting flour on your hands or the board, just put a little bit of oil, and that will take care of it without having to add the weight of the extra flour. It makes the bread dough fairly dense. I coated it in oil and then set it aside to rise. I think, maybe 15-20 minutes, but that's another place where they could take a little bit longer if your kitchen's cool or something like that. But once it had doubled, I punched it down and then kind of kneaded it again, get the air bubbles out. I formed it into the shape of a log. You're going to need 15 rolls, so I started by cutting it into 5 pieces and just did a little bit more kneading on each individual piece. And then I took each piece and cut that into 3 so that I would end up with 15 dinner rolls. And I just kind of rolled those and put them in the pan. Once that was done, I covered those and let them rise again until they had about doubled in size. I baked them, and they just turned out gorgeous. And the last thing I did was spread some melted butter over the top of them. And we definitely enjoyed these with our dinner that night. I think I'm at a point in my life where I've come to feel a peace about this season of rain we have. 75 to 100 inches of rain a year has certainly given me plenty of opportunity over the time I've lived here to have a lot of frustration with rainy days and cloudy days. As I reflect on the blessings of each season, and this one in particular, I've come to have more of a acceptance of it, I think. And I've learned, or maybe I'm still in the process of learning, to just be at peace with it. So the other day, I decided I was going to get all of my Pyrex glass baking dishes nice and sparkly clean. You know, when you've had them for a long time, and even though you've washed them and done all that, they end up with this brownish stain on them. And so I had a big goal that day in mind, is I'm gonna tackle this, and I'm gonna kind of show you what I did. Okay, my 2 methods. The first one I am going to try is baking soda and Dawn dish soap, and then if that doesn't do it, or just to compare how one method works opposed to the other is I'm going to try Barkeeper's Friend. I've always liked the combination of baking soda and Dawn dish soap because I know it does an awesome job in cleaning bathroom and soap scum and things like that. So I'm just going to liberally put it in here, and I'm going to take my Dawn dish soap and just spread that around. I'm going to add some boiling water. Well, it's certainly looking better, but there's still some stubborn areas in the corners and the edges. So I'm going to give this a good rinse, and I'm going to try some Barkeeper's Friend on it and see how that goes. I was super impressed with how the Barkeeper's Friend worked with these dishes. By the time I had finished my 9x13 pan, and I was quite proud of my accomplishment, but I did not have the time to do the other ones because it definitely took longer than I thought it would. But it's still on my list. At least now I know what to do and what is the best direction to go. So if you have any dishes that are, just not looking nice and sparkly, you might want to give this a try. My only other thought at this point was just to replace them, but they're still working, they're doing the job, so I don't feel like I need to replace them. They just needed a little bit of time, attention, and a whole lot of elbow grease. This next project that I want to show you is a super easy project. If you are a beginner sewer, it's great. So I spent an afternoon with my oldest granddaughter. She just has so wanted to sew, and she's done a couple projects with her mom, and so she has a basic idea how to use the machine and all that. But I wanted to do something that I knew she would enjoy, and it would be fairly easy because she's definitely still a beginner. So I decided that we would make some hair scrunchies, and she was all over that idea. I thought this project would also make a great Christmas gift, stocking stuffers, or giving a set to your grandkids or your children or something like that. It would just make an easy, quick, go-together Christmas gift if you are still looking for one right now. And you have fabric scraps sitting around. It's also a great use for the fabric scraps. Here's the trains. You'll need a rectangle that's 22 inches long by 3.5 inches wide, and you'll need to cut a piece of elastic that's about 9 to 10 inches. On this side, you're going to turn in just a little at the top. And iron it down. Right sides together, try to get them evened up. Yes, there we go. Now you're going to sew that edge closed. Just make sure that the knot that you tied has been pushed out of the way because you don't want to be sewing over that. There we go. Sweet. All right, let's do another one. There are a whole lot of methods in making scrunchies. Some are really complicated, some are super easy, and there seems to be everything in between. So for this one in particular, I just picked this easy one. So even though as you can see, I tied a knot in the elastic because I figured that was pretty simple and it's not going to get in the way of the hair tie. You could just pin the elastic in place, and so it didn't move when you made that final seam to close up the scrunchie, and then it would also secure the elastic. That would make it a little bit more properly finished than the knot. And the next time, she still has some she wants to make for her sisters and other people in her life. And so when we do it again, I may try it that way. I also was searching for another method that looked fairly simple. So if I try that, I'll give you all an update. But for now, I hope that scrunchie gives you some ideas for your scrap fabric. All right, I think that wraps up Homemaker's Journal 12, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I know I certainly enjoy making these and putting these together. Like I've mentioned before, it's a great way to take small clips of my life and small clips of little projects I work on that really don't amount to a full-blown video, and bring them all together to provide useful things for you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Alrighty, bye-bye.